Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is on Monday Night Raw Superstars and some brief news going on in the wrestling world. Official WWE.com website is advertising Randy Orton for this weekend SmackDown Live event tour of Ontario after the Viper was briefly pulled from the listings. He will also appear at a non-televised Raw and SmackDown event on September 15th. It will be his last live event appearance until November, since production for the latest film role, 12 Rounds, Reloaded, begins filming September 26th and will go through the month of October. He is, however, advertised to appear at all SmackDown tapings in the meantime. WWE has put Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara together to build a WrestleMania 29 match. You may remember that WWE wanted to do a Mysterio versus Sin Cara at WrestleMania 28, but both of them got injured. WWE was planning to give out luchador masks to everyone in attendance at this past year's WrestleMania 28, and then have them wear the mask before the Cara Mysterio bout, so they could set the Guinness Book of World Records for the most masks worn in one place at the same time. This is what WWE is building for WrestleMania 29. The new Rey-Cara partnership goes deeper than thought. Rey is not 100% right now, and the idea is to put him with Sin Cara so that they can work together, with Rey being hidden some while he works on getting back to 100%. Another idea is to connect Rey and Cara as partners, because there's a feeling that Rey's fans aren't connected to Cara just yet. There's also been talk of Cara and Mysterio winning the WWE tag titles before breaking them up prior to the WrestleMania 29 match. Regarding Devon heading to WWE, it is noted by someone in the company that people in WWE really like Devon far more than Bully Ray, but they don't believe there's a good chance that he will be brought back. WWE could end up hiring Devon as an agent or trainer, since he and Ray have turned out a few decent prospects at their Team 3D Academy in Florida. As noted before, it's believed Devon has left TNA, while Ray just recently re-signed a TNA contract. Within WWE, it's believed that since both Raw and SmackDown general managers are having problems, it's not a storyline coincidence. The current angles are that AJ Lee is incompetent and crazy, while Booker T is being sued by one of the announcers. The feeling is that this will lead to Vince McMahon firing both of them, so he can bring in a major name to run both shows. Former WWE NXT diva Sofia Cortez, under the name of Velez, teased on Twitter that she may be getting back into MMA. Since being released by WWE last month, she is taking bookings through Warrioress Juliet at hotmail.com. She has several wrestling convention appearances booked for later this year. Joey Styles confirmed that ECW Unleashed Volume 2 is currently scheduled to be released in the summer of 2013. It was previously reported that the DVD was planned for a release in late 2013. WWE officials are happy with the sales of the first DVD, which is why they are producing the second one. And what may be a sign that WWE plans on releasing Cameron on her 15-day suspension is over. WWE has removed her from a signing with Brodus Clay and Naomi at the Steiner Sports Store in Garden City, New York on September 22nd. The signing was edited sometime in the past 24 hours, just prior over the weekend, is whenever I got the notes. And Cameron has remained in the listing since her suspension was made public last month. Cameron will be able to return to work after September 14th, but it's interesting what WWE would remove her from an appearance that is a week later. She was not shown on Raw tonight, but Brodus Clay was. And another diva who has been recently missing, Beth Phoenix, who is currently taking a leave of absence from WWE, following the loss of a loved one, has been pulled from advertisements for several upcoming events. The official WWE website had her listed as appearing at events beginning on October 1st, after she was pulled from last week's Australian tour and all events in September. But her next advertised appearance is now slated for October 22nd, Raw, in East Rutherford, New Jersey. She is then not listed for any events until December 28th. She came back on Raw tonight, by the way. Defunct wrestling titles are highlights on this week's episode of WWE Vintage Collection. The following matches aired on the show: the York Foundation versus Dustin Rhodes, Big Josh, and the Z-Man for the WCW World Six-Man Tag Team Championships. WCW main event from November 3rd, 1991. Barry Windham versus Larry Zbyszko for the NWA Western States Heritage Championship. NWA Bunkhouse Stampede, January 24th, 1988. Dino Bravo versus Tiger Chung Lee for the WWF Canadian Heavyweight Championship. WWF All-American Wrestling, January 12th, 1986. Chris Jericho versus The Rock for the WWF Undisputed Championship. And then you got WWF Royal Rumble, January 20th, 2002. And that's thanks to Devin Cutting. This week's WWE Classics On Demand updates are as follows: Macho Madness, the Randy Savage Ultimate Collection, Part 2. WWF at Philadelphia Spectrum from August 27, 1988. AWA All-Star Wrestling from August 15, 1981. ECW Hardcore TV, April 28, 1998. And Stampede Wrestling from July of 1978. Wade Barrett was advertised to face Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus in the main event at Saturday's SmackDown Live event at the Cox Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, but the match was changed to a street fight when Sheamus and Del Rio, the World Heavyweight Champion, won. Barrett instead faced Ted DiBiase, who he then defeated. FutureEndeavors.com celebrated its 2-year anniversary Wednesday with a nearly 2-hour interview with Gabe Tuff, formerly known as Tyler Rex. And the subjects include how he broke into the professional wrestling industry, how CM Punk misled him before 2011 Royal Rumble, the secret to Ryback's non-existent pyro, how his recent stripper gimmick had actually been years in the making with a story that he said he had never told before, the rise and fall of the mid-card mafia cartoon as its possible return, his opinion of independent wrestlers that come into WWE, his opinion of many WWE superstars and officials, including Triple H and his former partner, Kurt Hawkins, who he describes as a young Shawn Michaels. And just prior to Raw, WWE messed up during a open on the pre-Raw advertisement 5 minutes before the Raw program start as an advertisement for Night of Champions pay-per-view pre-show. They had the wrong belt on the current U.S. champion, Antonio Cesaro, and they had instead of having the one he actually has, they had the Intercontinental title on his shoulder instead. Pay attention, WWE. Some people do pay attention to these commercials. Happy birthday goes to Matt Morgan, who may be coming into WWE very soon. He was born September 10th, 1976. Morgan has stated online that his contract with TNA expired, and he is teasing a return to WWE for the last few months by his Twitter page. Former WWE diva Molly Holly, aka Nora Greenwald, turned 35 years old on Friday. She was born September 7th, 1977. Former WWE wrestler Colin Delaney turned 26 on Friday. He was born September 7th, 1986. The Barbarian, a.k.a. real name Sion Valahi, of Powers of Pain fame, turned 54 on Saturday. He was born September 8th, 1958. Great Kabuki, a.k.a. I'll try and pronounce his first name right, Akihisa Mera, celebrated his 64th birthday on Saturday. He was born September 8, 1948. Former ECW champion Raven, a.k.a. real name Scott Levy, turned 48 on Saturday. He was born September 8, 1964. He has been working behind the scenes for the Resistance Pro Wrestling group that Billy Corrigan is involved with. Former WCW wrestler Lodi, a.k.a. Bradley Kane, turned 42 on Saturday. He was born on September 8, 1970. I wish him a happy birthday on his Facebook account. WWE NXT President Steve Keirn is 61 today. He was born September 10th, 1951. Keirn is best known for his work with the Fabulous Ones tag team. He has also had a stint as Skinner in WWE. I was wondering who he was. Well, now I know. Former WWE wrestler Don Morocco turned 63 years old today. He was born September 10th, 1949. Indie wrestler Rain, a.k.a. Bonnie Maxon, is 31 today. She was born on September 10th, 1981. She also played the part of Peyton Banks in TNA. Last week on Raw, a dejected Jack Swagger revealed he would be taking extended time off following his latest loss. His last win was June the 7th, 2012. Addition of superstars, despite the angle, the All-American is in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the site of tonight's Raw, according to the official Twitter feed of Live Audio Wrestling. Juanita Wright, who portrayed Dusty Rhodes' valet, Saphire, in the World Wrestling Federation, passed away 16 years ago today at the age of 61. Fritz von Erich, legendary wrestler, patriarch of the Von Erich family, and the owner of the World Class Championship Wrestling territory, passed away 15 years ago today. LA Times reports that the WWE officials are leaning toward making the WWE Network a pay channel similar to HBO. The price tag WWE would seek for a premium channel would be north of $10 a month and perhaps as much as $15, which would be cheaper than buying all or even half of the pay-per-view events. And you can read the article written by Joe Flint at latimes.com /entertainment /envelope /Cotown /LA-ET-CT-WWE 2012-09-10 comma 0 comma 7805792 dot story. The story features quotes from Brad Suffalo, an analyst with PAA Research, who took WWE officials to task for not sharing more information about the network, thanks to .NET reader Sylvester Parnell. And these the name of these following DVD slash Blu-ray disc release date are scheduled for 2013, starting in January the 15th. WWE TLC tables, ladders, and chairs for 2012. January 29th, Best of Raw and SmackDown 2012. February 12th, Best of Nitro Volume 2. February 26th, Royal Rumble 2013. March the 5th, Bret Hart unreleased matches. March 19th, Elimination Chamber 2013. April the 16th, Mick Foley biography. April 30th, Best of In Your House. May 14th, WrestleMania 29. May 28th, Top 25 Rivalries. June 18th, Extreme Rules 2011. Goldberg has a DVD coming out on June 25th. July 16th is a To Be Determined pay-per-view. I never heard of a To Be Determined pay-per-view. You ever heard of it? Make a comment. July 30th, ECW Unreleased Volume 2. Money in the Bank 2013 DVD is going out on August the 13th of next year. August 27th, Best of Madison Square Gardens. And you got September 10th of next year, Best of War Games. I might want to get that one. And then you got SummerSlam going, SummerSlam 2013 on August the 17th. September 17th, not August, because SummerSlam is in August. Okay, you got the top 20 divas, a countdown on September 24th. Then you got October 8th, Triple H's biography. October 15th, Night of Champions 2013. October 29th, Money in the Bank anthology. November 11th, Over the Limit 2013. November 19th, History of WWE. November 26th, Hell in a Cell 2013. And these are all DVDs. Raw 20th Anniversary Box Set, December the 3rd. And December the 24th, Christmas Eve, Survivor Series 2013. And finally, on New Year's Eve, Best WWE Pay-Per-Views. And for those that don't know, you better call somebody, because SmackDown Live for the taping November 27th was announced during the Raw advertisements, during the commercials, almost on every commercial during the first 2 hours. And it's being held at the Bossier City's CenturyLink Center. Be there, or you're just out of luck. It appears that No Way Out name may not be sticking around, even given that the June pay-per-view that will be released in July is listed to be determined on the schedule. It appears that Over the Limit is moving to late September or October, given the schedule to be released on DVD in November. It was announced to the live crowd on Monday in Montreal that Patterson Appreciation Night is going to be postponed due to the Jerry Lawler medical scare, thanks to .NET reader John Osborne. A very wise move in much respect. In fact, I've already heard from a number of readers who feel that the show should not have gone on, despite the old show business saying. I'm sure that that will be a major topic of debate in the days ahead. Former TNA Knockout Velvet Sky commented on Twitter during Raw that she had worked with Jerry Lawler on the independent wrestling events in Aruba over the weekend. And she commented by saying, "Just did Piper's Pit with Jerry Lawler in Aruba on Friday. He seemed to be in great health, so I know he will pull through this," unquote. As Velvet wrote on twitter.com/VelVelHoller. Lawler worked the Caribbean Wrestling Bash events that were held Friday through Sunday in Aruba, so he had a lengthy flight to Montreal within the last 24 hours. Just as a previous comment from John Osborne, he also comments on Raw prior to Raw tapings, along with Anthony Silverstrand and JP McMahon, were at the Raw event in Montreal, Quebec, and passed along these updates for Superstars taping. They were late letting people in the building, but at 7:30 local time, arena was extremely loud and at least 85% full. They showed a WrestleMania highlight package. John Cena was already getting booed out of the building. Well, during Raw, he wasn't actually booed. The entire crowd was quiet as a mouse. Scott Stanford and Josh Matthews came out to the commentator's table. First match, Tensai defeated Justin Gabriel. Solid back and forth match. The crowd got into it. Tensai won with a running senton. Tensai called Sakamoto into the ring and made him kneel, no beatdown. Match number 2, Santino Marella defeated Jinder Mahal. Lots of comedy spots. Mahal dominated most of the match. Santino came back with his Cobra for the win. And finally, Raw on the USA Network, live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Bret Hart makes his way into makes his entrance, and the announcer saying his accolade. Hart thanked the fans, and the crowd went ballistic for like 5 minutes. It finally settled down as he started into his promo. Hart said that the last time he was here was one of his darkest days, but also one of his proudest. He said Montreal has been in his heart for 15 years, and he thanked the fans for getting him through those dark days. Punk's music hit, and he entered in his Hart tribute trunks, Pink and Black Attack. Of course, he also has his stars that go around his waist, and with great heat from the crowd. Punk said that Hart's story has been well chronicled by his autobiography. Punk wondered what would have happened if he was in the ring with Hart in '97 rather than Shawn Michaels. Punk said that the WWE as we know it would not exist. Punk said he would have beat Hart without the use of Vince McMahon. Punk said he would have jumped to WCW after suck a victory, and WWE would have died without his Attitude Era. Hart used his catchphrase, and Punk said it kills him that he still uses that to this day. Punk turned his attention to Jerry Lawler as he just peeked around the corner and looking at Lawler, and he asked how that must be feeling. Hart said Lawler always showed up, and he always walked out of the ring like a coward. Hart said that Punk did just that way last week, and Hart set up footage of Punk interfering in the main event last week. Punk said he was in his hometown, and he was in a hurry to enjoy his day off. He said he returned for some things that he left behind and found Cena in his way. Punk inquired where Cena was right now. Punk asked if Cena was going to save Hart tonight. Hart said that he did talk to Cena, and he asked that he come out here alone. Punk started to get heat, as he said he's going to beat Cena this Sunday and cement his legacy as the greatest WWE champion of all time. Punk said he deserves the ovation that Hart received tonight, but instead it went to an overrated Hart. Hart quipped that Punk was putting the fans to sleep right now. Punk said that he would turn Cena into a broken down shell of a man, just like Hart. Punk dropped his mic and walked away as the fans called him an asshole. Well, that was a decent opener, but I expected a bit more fire from Punk when he got there. There's plenty of time for him to get there tonight. Though, I did like how Punk guaranteed victory against Cena. So, we're starting this go-home show off right. A Raw active graphic aired, letting fans choose between Randy Orton, Jerry Lawler, and Brodus Clay as potential opponents for Punk tonight. The announcers announced that Antonio Cesaro will defend his championship against the winner of the Battle Royal on the pay-per-view pre-show. Well, like I said in the earlier portion, they messed up the announcement because he actually has the United States title and not the Intercontinental title, as they put the belt on the wrong belt on his shoulder. First match up, Kofi Kingston and R-Truth versus The Miz and Antonio Cesaro. With Oksana, Kingston and Truth dominated early on, and they hit the tandem dive into their opponents on the floor. Miz and Cesaro sold at ringside as the show went to commercial break. Back for the break, Cesaro had Truth in a rest hold, and Oksana was swooning on the apron. Cesaro and Miz worked over Truth. Kingston eventually got the hot tag, and he hit his moveset at Cesaro. Miz tried to interfere, but got taken out. Kingston caught Cesaro with Trouble in Paradise for the victory. And that took 8 minutes and 8 minutes and 2 seconds to entertain us. The announcer spoke about Sheamus' recent dominance and his new fascination of the Texas Cloverleaf. decent match. It was a bit of a throwaway match, only to showcase the undercard champions before Night of Champions. It served that purpose well, but we really didn't get any memorable action from this contest. A legal deposition between Sheamus, Ricardo Rodriguez, David Otunga, and Sheamus Lawler aired. Otunga tried unsuccessfully to get Sheamus to take the meeting seriously. Otunga tried to legally claim how brutal the bro kick is, and Sheamus spent the meeting making jokes. Sheamus bro kicked the camera. Announced Sheamus versus Otunga for later in the evening. The whole segment was brutal. It was obnoxious. Made me dislike Sheamus. It lasted too long. Supposed to be a face. Well, he's just tearing up the camera. And the second match of the evening, Layla, Eve, and Caitlyn versus Beth Phoenix, Alicia Fox, and Natalya. The heels quickly got the better of Caitlyn, and then they took turns working her over. Layla got a tag as she worked her new dancing offense. Eve got a blind tag and took out Alicia with a neck breaker for the victory. This match was like really fast. I blinked my eyes and it's already over. It was like Caitlyn didn't even get in the match, and neither did Layla very much. She just basically backed up into the corner, blind tag, whatever move that she did, and it was over. And that match took 2 minutes 23 seconds out of our lives. Eve went over the top, nice in a celebration with her tag partners. Punk backstage approached a pissed off AJ backstage and complained about how he has a match, and Cena doesn't. Punk mocked her for her episode last week and dumping her back in today. AJ said that the things could be worse for Punk. She's sardonically wished Punk good luck and left. Punk turned around and ran into Brodus Clay. He was doing all his smiles. And that was basically it for him for the evening. The match was a completely throwaway, and it's worrying that the story was all about Eve when Caitlyn is the one challenging for the Divas belt. First hour has been a complete waste outside the seeing a Montreal crowd lose it for heart. Match number 3, CM Punk versus Randy Orton, who the fans voted for. The two men traded control several times early on. Orton went for RKO. Punk avoided it. Punk began walking up the ramp. Orton gave a chase and punched Punk back to the ring. Punk dropkicked Orton's legs out from underneath him, and he tried to get into the ring. And Orton sold at ringside while the show went to commercial. Back for the break, Punk was in control. Orton battled back and hit a superplex for a near fall. They both got to their feet and traded a series of counters to each other's arsenals. Punk called for the GTS, but Orton attempted another RKO. Punk threw him off. Orton hit his backbreaker for another near fall. Orton hits a hanging DDT and hit the Viper pose. Dolph Ziggler ran in and got the disqualification. And Orton he attacked Orton to end the match. Orton hit his it ended up as a no contest in 13 minutes 43 seconds. Orton took out Ziggler and Punk, but they were able to overcome and outnumber them. Lawler revealed his singlet and ran into the ring to save Orton, and it became a tag match instead. The men brawled as the show faded to commercial, back for the commercial, and they were starting a tag match. Orton has been doing good business recently, and I would have liked to see him do so again here. Orton isn't challenging for a belt on Sunday, so he could have taken the loss here without losing anything. So we get CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler with Miss Piggy Guerrero versus Jerry Lawler and Randy Orton. Cole announced that AJ started this match during the break. Orton worked over Ziggler for a spell, but Lawler tagged in and the heels took control. Lawler eventually got the hot tag to Orton, who wasted no time in taking out Ziggler. Paul Heyman made his entrance again and convened with Punk at ringside, leaving Dolph to wrestle alone in the match. Guerrero's Vicky screaming at both of their faces, and the two men ignored her. Heyman retrieved Punk's title and then handed it to him at ringside. Back in the ring, Orton hits an RKO out of nowhere to pick up the pinfall victory. Lawler and Randy Orton defeated Dolph Ziggler and CM Punk in 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Cole hyped Bret Hart interviewing John Cena for your main event. Well, that was interesting. The match became pretty much background noise at the moment the Heyman made his entrance, but I like the way that the two managed to get some heat just by ignoring a match Punk already said that he didn't want to participate in. As they go to commercial, Punk and Heyman were walking backstage. Max Striker showed up and asked him about their relationship. Punk said, he's Paul Heyman. He's a Paul Heyman guy now. Cole Slaw recapped the greatest hug in wrestling history between Daniel Bryan and Kane from last week. The inspirational music was a nice touch. Kane and Bryan were backstage in an office with Dr. Shelby. AJ showed up and she said that she asked Shelby to come here. Shelby said that the two men had to trust each other if they were going to overcome their issues. Commercial break. Heath Slater cut a brief promo about Zack Ryder, how got lucky last week. And he commented that, yep, he got lucky, just like he does just like he does when he's got a woman. He did not get his wish. Heath Slater versus Ryback instead, as Zack Ryder appeared on the Titantron. But I do know your opponent. It's another Rye name, but it's not Der. So what do you get? Ryder, Ryback. Ryback hit some power moves and flattered Slater with his fisherman muscle buster. Ryback squashed Heath Slater in 2 minutes 7 seconds out of her life. Ryback celebrated and led the crowd into the Feed Me More chants. Primetime players did their obnoxious routine backstage with AJ. And AJ said there's been a mistake and they are not the number one contenders to the tag team titles. AJ told them that they are irritating. AJ is my hero. AJ informed them that they have to make it through Daniel Bryan and Kane later on tonight to get their title shot. Commercial break. Live crowd seem absolutely dead now. They popped for Hart at the beginning of the show, but they've been dead ever since. With the show we've had thus far, I can't really blame them. Daniel Bryan and Kane versus Primetime Players in a number one contenders match. Kane started for his team and he took the fight to Titus O'Neil. Kane slapped in Daniel Bryan and he took his turn putting the boots of O'Neil. Darren Young blind tagged in and the players took control. Kane got the hot tag, no pun intended. He took out O'Neil and Young. Kane took out Young with a choke slam. Daniel Bryan blind tagged back in the match. And Kane choke slammed Bryan on top of the fallen Young, and Bryan got the 3 count. And that match took 8 minutes 24 seconds out of our lives. And during this match, this is where Jerry the King Lawler passed out at ringside. Apparently he got sick and he may have had a stroke, heart attack, but they revived him later on in the evening, as you will find out at the end of the results. And we got we had just had a fun match. Players continued to annoy me in a go-away fashion. But I've been enjoying everything we've gotten from Bryan and Kane over the past few weeks, and tonight was no exception. The strange bedfellow tag team could be fun for a little while. Match number 7, Alberto Del Rio versus Tyson Kidd. Well, Tyson hadn't been on the show for a while. Well, being from their hometown, they gave Tyson a shot in his hometown area, home country. Kidd went for a sharpshooter with 20 seconds in, and of course, Del Rio kicked out and blasted Del Rio with a few kicks afterwards. Kane missed a springboard elbow, and Del Rio started targeting Kidd's arm. Del Rio mocked going for the sharpshooter, but Kidd reversed it and locked in a hold in the hold himself. Del Rio made it to the ropes after a third attempt. Then went back and forth on Kidd's arm. Del Rio locked in a cross arm breaker and got the tap out in about 20 seconds later. And that match took about 2 minutes, 54 seconds out of our lives. After the match, Del Rio called Kidd a peasant, and that got the crowd back live again. Or back alive, I should say. And said he would make Sheamus lose the world title just like he made him lose the bro kick. Coleslaw announced that Jerry Lawler collapsed at ringside, and he was receiving medical attention right now. He said Lawler is receiving CPR, and this is not part of tonight's entertainment, as Cole was visibly shaken, and not much commentary for the remaining of the night, which is fairly good. It's like going to a house show, because there are no announcers at the house shows. No commentating, I should say. They do have announcers, but no commentators. Match number 8, Sheamus versus David Otunga. Sheamus beat David Otunga down and locked in Texas Cloverleaf for the submission victory. That took 1 minute and 23 seconds out of our lives. After the match, Sheamus came back and hit Otunga with the bro kick. AJ made her entrance, and she was about to demand that Sheamus do something, but Booker T interrupted and said that Booker reprimanded Sheamus, and he said that if Sheamus uses the kick again, he would be stripped of the World Heavyweight title. Not a fan of this story. Sheamus hasn't looked the least bit hindered by the bro kick banning, so his title doesn't look the least bit in jeopardy. A tout from the tag team champions there of R-Truth and Kofi Kingston, as they were both wearing suits again. Daniel Bryan and Kane argued about their match backstage. Dr. Shelby told them they should call their team friendship. They did not take this idea. They both said no. At this point, Coleslaw is talking at ringside again. Coleslaw was shown at ringside choking up as he was saying, all was apologetic type of thing. Cole said that Lawler has been taken to a local hospital and is receiving oxygen, but he is breathing on his own. Cole then reaffirmed that this is not part of tonight's entertainment. Cole said that out of respect for King, there will be no more commentary on tonight's broadcast, but they do hope they have more by the time the show is over. Match number 8, Rey Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes. Rhodes went on offense early, but Mysterio quickly made a comeback. Miz ran out and interfered long enough for Rhodes to catch Mysterio with a crossroads. Rhodes hit Miz with the same move for a good measure before holding the Intercontinental title above his head. As they go to commercial break, he drops the Intercontinental title back on the Miz and walks out of the ring. And that match took 4 minutes, 18 seconds out of our lives. Good brief match. Rhodes looked vicious throughout. The current Lawler situation is hanging like a cloud over the crowd. My thoughts and prayers are with him. Cole checked in at ringside again, recounted the events with Lawler, and he said that Lawler is responsive now and awaiting a CAT scan as they go to commercial. Bret Hart makes his entrance. He called John Cena to the ring, and Cena immediately made his entrance. Cena thanked Hart for asking him to come out. Hart said that Cena's feud with Punk reminded him of a lot of his feud with Shawn Michaels back in the day. Cena thanked Hart for mentioning him among those names. Cena said that Punk is an insecure guy that has to tell people how good he is when Michaels earned his respect on his own. Hart asked what Cena would do to shut his phony Punk up. This phony Punk up. As the 10 o'clock hour comes, Punk makes his entrance without music and questioned if Hart actually called him a phony. Cena tried to goad Punk into the ring. Punk said he does what he wants, and he does what he decides. And he decided to defend his good name in the face of such rampant and ridiculous disrespect. Punk said it almost breaks his heart to see them in the ring together. He compared the two and said that they were both surpassed by someone far superior to themselves. He said that in reference to Cena, it was him. And in Hart's case, it was Shawn Michaels. Punk said he's better than Shawn Michaels. Punk mentioned Stone Cold, and he told Hart that he's better than him too. Punk said he's better than The Rock. Punk said he's the best wrestler, talker, technician, and brawler. Punk said he makes him anything but a phony. Cena called Punk a liar and a conceited scumbag. He said that he learned tonight that Montreal is an honest city. Cena said he's going to hit Punk with a dose of truth. And Cena said that for 300 days, Punk has been a champion, and for 300 days, his title has been irrelevant. Cena said that there is no conspiracy against Punk. He is just a nobody. Cena said that the night Punk made the most noise was the night that he was silenced. Cena said he went from an underdog to an odd-on favorite, but he didn't change as he did it. Cena said that the Punk changed multiple times, stole colors from Hall of Famers, and stole Randy Savage's elbow, all because he hasn't found himself. Cena said that Punk retained the title by any means necessary, but that does not make him a champion. Cena said that at Night of Champions, is at risk of losing his WWE title. Cena said something in French. Nobody really understood it, but the Canadian fans, because they speak French. So now we know that Cena is bilingual. Punk said Cena has lowered himself to speaking the language of the locals. Cena cut him off and called him an ignorant son of a bitch. Cena said Punk says he's going to win in a Night of Champions, but he is just going to kick his ass. The two men had to stare down, and Punk eventually backed away. Punk went for a sucker punch, but Cena blocked it. Cena took his shirt off. Punk tried to strike Hart. Hart blocked the punch and gave him one of his own. Punk hightailed it up the ramp, holding his title like it was a baby. And that ended that melee. Cole gave us a final update on Lawler, as he said that Lawler has stabilized. He is breathing on his own, and his heart is beating on its own. And that concluded Raw. Well, a fan at ringside noted that on one of the dirt sheets that it sounded like Lawler had began snoring right before he collapsed, similar to what people do when they go into a seizure. Well, before that, Lawler communicated with a ringside employee, motioning that he was having a problem. Lawler grabbed his arm and turned blue as he fell, which could be signs of a heart attack. EMTs and WWE doctors attended to Lawler immediately. His shirt was ripped open so that they would begin medical assistance. And during the commercial break, they stretchered him off. Lawler was rushed backstage by a stretcher and then taken to a local hospital by ambulance. After Lawler was taken away, the WWE ring crew quickly cleaned up at ringside during the commercial break, and it appeared that Lawler may have gotten sick just before he collapsed. And that ends my Raw results for this week. Stay tuned for tomorrow night's SmackDown spoilers, along with Superstars and possibly some more NXT results. Well, that's it. Peace out. God bless. Sayonara. Whatever else. I don't speak 5 languages like somebody else we know, Antonio Cesaro.